Hello there. The European Union has described the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as a stuffed turkey and fully expects him to cave into their new Brexit demands or post-Brexit demands. Yes, just as our venerated Prime Minister prepares to jet off to Brussels next year for his Great Reset talks with the Eurocrats, we discover that Brussels has been plotting his downfall. Or more accurately, how they expect to turn his Great Reset into their own oven-ready deal. And the Telegraph spills the beans, having got hold of a leaked document called the Report by the Presidency on the Identification of EU Interests for Strengthening EU-UK Relations. And there in the annex is what they require from the UK, just for turning up to any talks. All because Keir Starmer says he wants a great reset of UK-EU relations. Oh, and he's taking a 100-strong army of officials over there with him to negotiate our surrender terms with them. So the EU just assumes it's all desperate Ramona stuff, that Keir the Neela Starmer will take the knee to Brussels and do as he is dictated to. And Starmer has painted himself right into a corner on this one, because he dare not return without a deal. How can he? However rotten that deal is for us. Remember, he has committed an awful lot of his political capital to this Great Reset. But he can always come back and spin it as a success to the dwindling party Ramona faithful, can't he? So the EU has drawn up its red lines, and according to the Telegraph report, one EU official with knowledge of the document said, "If you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and Keir's turkey is stuffed." Sounds very ominous, doesn't it? What they mean is that they have written what they see as the terms of the talks, and they expect us to play along while they use it to stuff the UK. And one of the main items in their leaked document gives the game away on how they view the relationship. Under the heading of irregular migration, they say, the discussion showed that while there was a general openness to consider ways to improve cooperation with the United Kingdom on tackling irregular migration, moving towards an agreement on readmission would be unacceptable for many member states. As far as the EU is concerned, once here, the illegals belong to us. No negotiations on returns. That's what that means. Now, I will point out that these negotiations are always choreographed, pre-planned, pre-scripted. They know what they've agreed to well before we get to even hear what they've been talking about. So expect the worst and you might come close. Anyway, the two main demands they wish to extract from our beloved Neela is firstly to allow freedom of movement with special youth experience scheme visas for the 18 to 13-year-olds between the UK and the EU. And secondly, to retain EU fishing vessel access to UK waters. And I bet Neela won't be telling the Eurocrats, no returns of illegal immigrants, no agreement, will he? Now, the EU does say in his screed that it would be in their interests for easier trade to exist between the UK and EU. But that would come with the requirement of the UK to join their single market and customs union. But as we don't want to do that, then we can't cherry pick, can we? We can't do it on a sectoral basis. But what they do say is that it is essential for its member states to have continued access to our fishing grounds on the current basis permanently into the future. They need the access. Long-term commitments on access to waters is seen as key to provide the necessary certainty and predictability, it says in their document. And it went on to say, it was also emphasised that a reset between the Union and the United Kingdom is only credible if it is based on an early understanding on this between the parties. This is needed for the facilitation of discussions on the other aspects under consideration. So that translated means that if the UK does not cave into EU fishing demands, there will be no Great Reset talks anyway. And this is exactly what they did in the run-up to the Brexit negotiations. So what do you expect Keir the Kneeler to do? Yes, hand over our fish, of course, when what he should be doing is running a mile the other way. Now, on the youth experience scheme, the document says decreased student mobility and reduced people-to-people contacts are seen as important and unnecessary negative impacts of the United Kingdom's withdrawal. Remember, the EU only looks at these things from its own perspective. So translated, that means they need access to our education system. And it also talks about Creative Europe, the European Solidarity Corps. Yeah, the European Solidarity Corps and Horizon Europe. Member states would welcome the UK's participation in these programmes, especially in Erasmus+, it says. You'd think they were missing us, wouldn't you? Maybe it's the money and military support they miss. Oh, and talking about the military, that's another area of theirs mentioned in this document that they would love us to involve ourselves in, for their benefit, of course, as is always the case. So it appears that the EU is stuffing us. Anyway, I'm going to bring Richard in and see what he thinks about all of this, and if he thinks that the EU is a bit overbearing here. Richard?
Oh, yes. Youth experience scheme. Yeah, okay. Free movement for 18 to 30-year-olds. Yeah, all right. And let's not forget the under-18s with beards wanting free movement into Britain, but not to leave Britain. That's another thing we have to think about here. But you are 100% correct, as per usual here, Jeff, because there are no negotiations. What must be remembered is this. Starmer has always been ideologically pro-EU, much to the disappointment of his predecessor and fellow far-lefty Jeremy Corbyn, and the old far-left, because they were never pro-EU. Yes, you can imagine Tony Benn, Michael Foot and Bob Crow all turning in their graves at Starmer's pro-EU stance and these new negotiations. Yeah, righty-ho. So don't for 1 minute buy into any message out there and the rhetoric saying that the EU is forcing Starmer's hand in any negotiations, because they're not. No, Starmer is willingly walking Britain up to the barrel and bending it over for the EU. There are no concessions at play here by Starmer that have to be done. This is our dead-eye Prime Minister willingly going against the wishes of the British people and democracy by wiping the EU's dirty bottom with the 2016 referendum ballot papers. And that, sir, is nothing short of treason. Treason. Yes, a new word. Jeff.
Yes, it is definitely going to be a rollover against us. Starmer is just going to give everything away. He doesn't care about it, to be honest. He doesn't care about the country. What he wants is his little communist fiefdom here. And it just makes me so angry. When I was going through all of this stuff, because I wrote some of it yesterday and wrote some of it today, it was really setting my fireworks off in my head. because of the way that he's being dictated to. Having looked at that document, if I'd been the Prime Minister, I'd have looked at it and said, bin, no talks, we're just continuing as is. This is going to be worse for us than the current situation. Worse, worse, worse. He's going to give stuff away. It's going to cost us a fortune, and we're going to get nothing out of it. We're not getting a returns agreement. You heard that from that document. We're not getting a returns agreement. Starmer already knows that. He's probably seen this document. He's probably had a hand in writing it. But fishing, oh no, that's absolutely essential for the EU that they have their hands on our fish. So, it's just one-way traffic all the time with the EU. And it's about time we stood up and said, no, we're just kicking all your fishing boats out, and we're going to kick any undocumented boats that come, we'll just kick them back to your beaches. That's it. We've got, I don't know.
Well, yeah, what gets my hackles up about this, really winds me up, is the fact that the EU, Starmer, all the rest of the liberal left, because don't forget, and we're talking about a complete left-wing establishment throughout the EU and Britain here, okay? So they pretend to be green. They tell us how green they are, how much they love the environment, etc., etc. Yet the fishing practices done by a lot of the fishing fleets out there, especially EU fishing fleets, are destroying the fishing grounds, completely destroying the ecosystem of our oceans, the waters around Britain. I mean, we're capturing a fraction of the amount of fish that we were pulling in at the turn of the last century, and it's just going to get worse. I think I've read a few reports which have said that in another 20 years' time, fishing stocks will be almost zero. So, I mean, great. Why are they pushing for this? This is no real negotiation. They don't really want our fishing grounds, I don't think. I think the point here, more than anything, is that the fishing grounds are like another part of our subservience. Will they give? Give more, give more, give more. That's all they want. They want subservience by Britain. They want us to be effectively inside the EU without being inside the EU. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Makes my blood bloody boil as well. Yeah.
Now, one of the interesting things you might not know is that someone sent me an email, and I did check this out. Did you know that we get the bulk of our cod from China? Did you know that?
Oh.
Look it up. Just look it up. You think, wait a minute, we fish for cod here, but it turns out that we've overfished. As far as I can see, we've overfished it. We've overfished our areas due to the whole of the EU being able to come into our waters as well as us. If we got them back on a sustainable footing, proper sustainable footing, we wouldn't need to. What else are we going to import from China? We're importing everything from China, it seems to me. I mean, there is another country involved. I think it might be the Netherlands, but I just couldn't believe how that country, again, China, features high on our import list. It's like everybody in the West wants to turn over everything to China. You give us everything, and we'll just pay. We won't do anything for the money. We'll just print it or something. I don't know. Or we'll just give you more bonds.
You'd swear a member of the royal family was behind this, wouldn't you, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd swear he had investments in Chinese fishing.
Yeah.
Or she. I might not be on about a he. I might be on about she. Yeah.
This is a good comment from Richard Hamilton. As Brexit never happened, as I expect, it will be an easy fix to get us back in the EU once again. Well, that's exactly the reason why they never got rid of most of the laws. The only thing that's in the way at the moment is we've just ratified the Trans-Pacific, TCCPP, whatever it is, with the Eastern countries, like Japan and wherever, Malaysia and stuff. We've signed a big trade deal with them. It's just been ratified. And while we're a member of that, we can't rejoin the EU. We'd have to leave that first, and you'd have to give a year's notice before we could rejoin the EU because of the way it works. Because it's a loose trading agreement, a free trade agreement with no political, there's no TCPPP, whatever it's called, commission. no TCCP council, no courts, no single currency, so that we have to join or anything like that. So it's a completely different beast. So the EU, to join it, would have to take control of it. That's the only way they could join it, and they're not going to do that. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting little conundrum, that.
Good comment here by Richard Manning. Reform need to bring this stuff up in Parliament to bring it to the fore so they know what we're losing. Yes, they do need to step up. Come on, Nigel. Come on, Richard. Come on. Get it going. Come on, Lee Anderson. Come on, Rupert Lowe. We need you to really put,
you're
push
in
things
there.
in Parliament.
Give it a go.
Yeah, we need
Someone's
this.
having a go at my sartorial elegance in the lead up to Christmas. Yes. Yeah, that's the one thing we got to do is make our Navy great again.
Totally.
Now, sorry?
Totally, I said. That's something we desperately need. Yeah.
Yeah, overfishing is what it says. Overfishing. Yeah, and it was... I just can't believe we're in this situation. We're meant to be all ecological, aren't we, in the EU, as part of this thing. It's all meant to be ecological. But the fishing industry has been completely, I don't know, terminated, as it were. It's almost like they don't want us to eat fish.
They're not ecological, they're ideological.
They don't.
That's what this is. Yeah. This is trying to get another facet of British industry. I wouldn't just say British industry. It encompasses, you see, the fishing encompasses more than just the fishing industry. We're talking about the communities, the fishing communities, and the livelihoods of all those who are interconnected and the supply chains. This is the complete decimation of our seaside ports and our towns. There are regions of this country that have been decimated since the 1960s, 1970s, actually. Yeah. It didn't just begin with us joining the EU. The writing was on the wall in the 1960s. Yeah. There's been a slow decline, but in recent years, of course, with further integration, we have seen it. I've mentioned before a brilliant interview with Norman Lamont. I think it was on Question Time, actually. Not interview, but he divulged some information about the fact that a lot of British industries had to be destroyed because of demands by the EU. Under Thatcher, this was. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of what happened with the mines and everything was due to our integration with the European Common Market at the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, now here's a good comment. I mean, this is sort of where I was leading with this. No fishing industry and no farming. We will be reliant on more and more imports. I think that's exactly where the UK establishment and the Western world is going. That's where they're going. They are saying, we'll take all your people and then we won't have any food to feed them with, but we'll get someone else somewhere else to grow the food and harvest our fish and sell them to us. And we won't touch ours because we're too green. We don't do that sort of thing. We don't do agriculture because it's bad for the planet. But we'll let other people do it and we'll just buy it in. And we'll fill in lots of Excel spreadsheets and WordPress documents as a way of generating our money. Sounds sensible, doesn't it? Or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, dear. I give in. I don't give in. I think we need to stand up and become a little more politically active. Paul Thorpe said it, summed it up earlier in his broadcast earlier. I'm not sure it was a live stream. It was a video, actually, where he said the talk is cheap and we need to just get on with things. We need to get active. If you want to do something about this, we can't just stand here and moan about it. We do. And we have the council elections coming up in May. And we all, every single one of you watching this, you need to get active towards pushing whichever party it is that you believe will counteract Labour and the far left. We've got to get something going. We really do, because if we don't, then what are we? Hypocrites. Nothing but hypocrites. And Jeff, you and I need to get more active as well. We need to be pushing our beautiful followers out there, and we love them to bits. Speaking of which, I think there's nothing more disrespectful for somebody who is a YouTuber than, I've seen it a few times, people just going on, they've had a few drinks, they're drinking alcohol and they're just, a little bit drunk and they're talking rubbish. It's absolute, I don't know where they get it from. I don't know how they can do it. It's disgusting. I wouldn't do it. No, if you hear me singing All Round My Hat by Steel I Span, you know that I've had a drink.
I've just seen you have a drink. Now I'm
No,
worried.
no, this is tea. It's very nice tea by Gold Label.
Is it right? Okay. Yeah.
Very good. Indeed.
Yes.
Yes, but talk is cheap, ladies and gentlemen, and we need to get everything sorted. And
Yes.
yeah, and May, get ready for May.
Yeah. Get ready for those elections
To
in
say the
May.
matter.
Definitely. Yeah.
All around my hat, I would wear. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, moving on slightly, it appears that the French farmers have just about had enough, and they're going to do what the UK farmers are threatening to do. They're plotting on how to bring the EU Commission and its president to their knees by blockading food supplies and therefore emptying the supermarkets of their stock. The president of the Farmers Defence Force Belgium said, "I hope we can do that across European countries. It's an example. If you kill the farmers, the supermarket shelves will be empty and you won't have what you want anymore." And it looks like farmers groups from Eastern Europe, Italy, and Spain, and the Netherlands could end up joining with the French and German farmers. Now, that would be something to see.
Mhm.
And this is all over the EU Mercosur deal with the South American countries. It's a very big deal. And they've been trying to put that deal together for, I don't know, 20 years. And they're just about to sign up to it. But the trouble is that the farmers just don't like it because it brings with it the threat of cheap, inferior food undercutting EU farmers. And you'd think that would be something that the EU would be dead against, wouldn't you? In, bringing down the single market. That's what they all sort of obsess about, the single market, protecting its integrity. And now they're looking at dumping EU agriculture so that they can bring all this stuff in. Yeah,
Mhm.
very strange that. What do you reckon?
Yeah, unexpected. We know what's going on. I mean, it's all coordinated. Starmer isn't doing what he's doing with our farmers in isolation. This is going right across the Europe and the Western world. Look what's been happening in America. Thank goodness Trump's getting in. But I'm going to have to love you and leave you all. I am. I have an event to go to, and I'm
Right.
seeing numerous members of my village walking past my window.
All right.
To
The
a
grand
village
switching on of the
celebration.
lights. Yep.
Yes, they're switching on the village lights, and it's a wonderful thing. So I really have to go.
Right. Well, yep.
And it's important, you see. It's all important. This is important. This is.
Yes.
We all need to do a bit for our community and be involved in it. We have to
Yeah.
remember what it's like. We shouldn't put things on the back burner. This is important. We have to be there for our community, for our family, and for our churches as well. Oh, I'm going to be getting more involved in my church, and we all need to. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Jeff, are you going to continue, or are
No,
you?
I've got some things to do as well, and this is a very timely point to stop at.
Indeed.
Yeah, this is we're getting into the festive spirit now, and I've got to find a piece of holly and hang it up somewhere, and hope. I won't talk about the mistletoe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so everybody, don't forget, and here comes Richard with his.
Please like and subscribe, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Choose the all option. Maya Tusi mentioned it the other day. Make sure that you are still subscribed because people get unsubscribed as well, which is really weird. But make sure you're subscribed and you click the all option. There are issues with Google algorithms hitting a few of us at the moment. There's an algorithmical change taking place on YouTube. So please get in there and just like and subscribe. Okay. Thank you all.
So it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him. Good night.
Good night.